Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I nearly said welcome back, tennis fans. I hope I won't ever use that phrase because that is for the one and only Ben. Anyway, welcome back. Day 2, Silk Report, Australian Open. Let's get straight to it, shall we? Thanks, Liam. Hi, how is it going? Yeah, a little bit late, but there we go. Let's get straight to this Silk Report. Anyway, off we go. And next on the agenda, Leylah Fernandez. That's obviously what we're going to talk about first because, oh boy, what a day she's had, and what a 6 months really. Obviously, coming to the Australian Open here, obviously having got to the final of the US Open in New York last September, but it's really been a rough time for her since, as we can see there from that tweet from Jose Morgado. She's not had a great record since then, winning 3 and losing 3, including today in straight sets to Madeline Inglis, a wild card, 133 in the world from Australia. Now, I wasn't sure about Fernandez going into this tournament because of the record since New York, but I thought, to be honest with you, she had what on paper looked like a comfortable, easier opening round match, albeit against a home favourite. But unfortunately, she came up short, and she came up well short as well. As I say, losing in 6 sets, winning just 6 games as well. She was interviewed afterwards and asked about her build-up. We dwelt a lot on preparation last night for the Aussie Open, but she said she felt good before. She felt as though her warm-up went well. She felt as though her her pre-tournament warm-up, and she felt in good shape and felt reasonably confident. Basically, she was at a loss as to what went wrong. And I've got to be honest, so was I. I don't think I can explain it other than the fact that she just said, I've got to get back on the practice court and keep going. So let's see how it pans out. I have absolutely no idea about her record on clay. Please let me know in the chat if you have any ideas about how she's going to do, because obviously, I mean, we've got other tournaments to come. I think she may even be staying in Australia for a bit longer. But really, once the Aussie Open is done, we've obviously got the American swing to think about in March, and then it's clay court. And it's such a shame that she's gone out so early. Yeah, thanks, Liam. I feel the same. Still learning. These are young people. Hi, Gene, by the way. Yeah, these are young guys and young girls, and we've got to give them, a chance to learn and to grow. And Leylah Fernandez is no different. There was an awkward moment in the press conference, and I do think press conferences at tennis has been a big topic in the last 12 months in particular. But to be honest with you, anyone who follows the sport closely, you kind of have an unusual bunch there. Unlike other sports where you have, 10 or 20 people that follow the sport very closely. With tennis, you do have a few people that sort of dip into the sport for slams or possibly even just their home slam. And so you do get some odd questions. She had a question today which sounded more like a PR thing. Bearing in mind, Leylah Fernandez has just lost in a crushing defeat. And somebody asked her about her new kit sponsor. And so Leylah Fernandez, kind of grimacing, had to go through a whole rigmarole of how pleased she was to be wearing her new outfit and how good it looked. And I don't know, tell me what you think about that in the chat too. But I'd rather not have that kind of, first of all, PR stuff during a press conference, and secondly, a bit of sensitivity regarding the fact that she's just lost a tennis match, albeit that she gets a chance to promote her new kit. As Morgado says there regarding her record, and then also, of course, her opponent, Raducanu, since that US Open final, her record has been somewhat sketchy. Played 6, won 2. And she was playing Stevens as well in what was a really, really tricky match for the young Brit. And, well, how did she get on? She got on pretty well. Winning in 3 sets, smashing it in the first 6 love, then having to ride out the 6-2 loss in the second set before smashing it once again, 6-1 in the third set. I have to say, I didn't see this coming. I didn't. I thought Raducanu might be, I thought she might go out, partly because Stevens is such a tough, obviously former world number 3, such a tough opening round for her. Her form, as we've already highlighted, going into the tournament was sketchy. She had COVID. I think she also pulled out of a tournament just before the Australian Open as well. I think it was such a tough opening round for her, and I feared the worst for her. But you know what? Great. And it seems to be that the higher the stakes, the higher and harder she performs, hitting that ball so hard with such venom. And at times, Stevens couldn't live with her. And, you know, I guess don't rule Raducanu off is the moral of the story there. We mustn't expect too much from her, but you know what? Just when I'm starting to think it's not going to be great for her, yeah, Halep versus Raducanu. Let's see if that happens. That will be amazing. And there's so many unbelievably, possibly great matches on the horizon on the women's side. I'm always talking about how stacked the draw is, and this is no different. And from round onwards. But listen, Raducanu winning today, and what was great is the confidence was there at times to hit the ball as hard as she did. Please get a chance to at least track through the highlights reel. I unfortunately couldn't watch this live for various reasons. By about 8 a.m. German time, I was pretty much dead on my feet and struggling to keep up. But I managed to catch the highlights. I managed to also see her presser afterwards, where obviously she was very happy, but just so confident. I quite like her demeanor in press conferences. I remember her losing, I think, in the first round at Indian Wells not long after, and she was generally very annoyed. She was annoyed to be in the press conference. She didn't want to be there. She gave short shrift to the press conference questions that were not to her liking, and that's great. I like that. And equally, of course, today her winning, very different demeanor and much happier. She also touched on how she was doing a year ago. I wasn't even sure what her situation was. A year ago, she said she was in her room studying for exams. And what a 12 months that she's had. From that moment, obviously, to get into the, I think, fourth round at Wimbledon and then winning the US Open, and now being a big hitter going into the Australian Open. It's just an unbelievable 12 months that she's had. And by the way, she also touched on the court speed regarding the Aussie Open, and she mentioned how the weather changes things and how it's quick, not easy to slide around, a bit sticky at times, but very much weather dependent. Almost as if she was watching the podcast yesterday. Check it out, Silk Report, 24 hours ago. Basically, she's copied word for word what I've said. She's obviously watching the Silk Report, and that makes sense. I mean, if you want to know what's going on, basically on a day-to-day basis at the Australian Open, keep up to date by watching this on a daily basis. So thanks for that, Emma. Oh, so regarding Raducanu and also the Brits in general, I think has to be said it was a pretty good day because, as we see here from Joe Jury, who highlights that Emma Raducanu loves Grand Slams. Good to see her striking the ball so well. Completely agree, Joe. Joe is someone that I used to watch as a kid growing up. Gives you a bit of a clue as to my age there. And she says a good day for the Brits. Well, why was it a good day for the Brits, I hear you ask? Because of Andy Murray. Andy Murray winning in 5 sets. He knows a thing or two about roller coasters, as we see here from the official Aussie Open account, winning 6-1, 3-6, 6-4, 6-7, 6-4. This is the match, basically, that I was staying up to watch and was struggling at times, I have to say. It was funny, the moments when Andy Murray had dips in this match, I was having similar dips. And the moment I would wake up, he would seemingly wake up. I wouldn't say it was the highest of quality matches. I would say that basically there were moments in the match that Murray was struggling, and I think he was just hanging on in there. And as it entered the end of the fourth set, or midway through the fourth set, I made this prediction. If it doesn't go well, if it goes 5, I make Basilashvili the hot favorite to win. Well, as you can see, even the best get it wrong from time to time. And I have to admit, I didn't see that victory coming for Andy Murray today. But hats off to him. Really pleased for him. And now he will play Tira Daniel, I think, in the next round, which is obviously Taro Daniel, which is obviously a winnable match for him. Regarding the match, Basilashvili seemed like he was in a competition with Karatsev, who made 107 unforced errors yesterday. Well, Basilashvili did 99. And I want to focus on him before coming back to Murray, because I have to say that Basilashvili is a player that goes to extremes, and I I can't work it out. 1 minute he's getting to the final of the Indian Wells, and the next minute he's crashing out in round one here in Australia. And I don't think he covered himself in any glory. I mean, particularly his tactics. I get it that he wants to be aggressive. I get it that he wants to play his own game. But 99 unforced errors does suggest that whatever your own game is, it's not working today. And it certainly wasn't. There were also times when I said that Murray physically was struggling. We saw him between points leaning on his racket in that way he does. It seemed like, I don't know, but it seemed like his movement at times, Andy Murray was struggling with that. And I have to say that Basilashvili's got to think, and he's got to think smarter. And at this kind of time, he's got to start moving Murray around the court, not going for winners every time. He's got to move him around. I'm not sure that Murray can beat Sinner, but Liam, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves there. That's round 3, I believe, maybe even round 4, and that would be a successful tournament as far as I'm concerned for Andy Murray. So, but let's wind it back to today and just focus on Basilashvili and his tactics. There was a couple of times he tried to play it short, like really short, a drop shot, or even bring Murray into the net. That makes sense. His execution was poor, adding to his unforced error count. I just think that really, as much as I praised Murray for hanging on in there, his unforced error count was quite low. I mean, he was doing lots of backhand slices, but even forehand slices, just hanging in there, waiting for Basilashvili to make a mistake, which he duly obliged on far too many occasions. And to lose to Andy Murray with a medal hip after 5 sets, I don't think looks good on Basilashvili. And well, anyway, let's finish with a praise for Andy Murray and really pleased for him. And I think Taro Daniel in the next round is very winnable, but then of course there will be tougher tasks to come. But great for him and great for tennis, and great to see him back. I'm just going to now touch on Medvedev, who won today in straight sets. Pretty comfortable, pretty good. And he will now play Nick Kyrgios in the next round, who managed to overcome Brody. It was a tricky opening round, and especially as Kyrgios has barely played at all in recent weeks. He had COVID basically 10 days before the tournament, so he's barely had any chance to get anywhere. But he now sets up this nice, tasty match against Medvedev. Medvedev will probably win. Medvedev is obviously the hot favorite for that, but great to see that matchup. And it's always good to see Nick Kyrgios on court, especially in Australia. So really looking forward to that. Let's have a quick look in the chat there. Murray has played 5 sitters for more years than Sinner. Yeah, that's true, David. But this is a very different Andy Murray today compared to the Andy Murray who played 5 setters many years ago. I'd be interested to know about Murray in 5 setters. I remember him being pushed quite a bit at Wimbledon last year in a few matches, but that is Wimbledon with a home crowd behind you. I think it's great that Murray won, but anyway, let's see how he gets on. So yeah, that's a lovely little quote there as well from Nick Kyrgios there, talking about his brotherhood with Djokovic seems to know no ends, and now he's saying that he wants to play doubles with him. So watch this space. Okay, that brings to an end basically my day 2 at the Australian Open in terms of players and in terms of matches. I am paying attention to the chat, by the way. If there's players that I've missed that you want me to touch on, I will try, but I'll address that shortly. But before I do that, I just want to get to some bad news. Fortunately, we've had the sad news that Casper Ruud has now joined the list of players that have had to withdraw. Unfortunately, I've had an ankle twist in practice on Sunday. What rotten luck, just 2 days before he was due to take the court. I've done everything I can to heal and be ready, but 2 days is just not enough. It was a difficult decision to withdraw. As you can imagine, 48 hours, he's thinking touch and go. This is not quite the same as Ons Jabeur, who has this back thing, I think, needs to take extreme caution. With something like this, you're thinking, maybe I can play through it. Maybe I can get time, keep short matches and hopefully get through it. But he's obviously decided to err on the side of caution. if you turn your ankle, it is a particularly painful moment. And if he's still feeling it, that's why he's decided to pull out. I'm sorry that it had to end this way at this year's Australian Open, but I'll stay positive and see you back on court soon. I do think with the Australian Open, it's such a jarring one to have to pull out with because you've traveled so far. I think especially for the lower ranked players that have to pull out or have if they go out first round or go out in the qualifiers, you've traveled possibly 24 hours across the globe, such as Casper Ruud, obviously being Norwegian, only to have a few days in Australia before you head back. But anyway, there we go. That was sad. Yeah, let's get to the chat. I'd like to have a quick look to see if there's any players that you'd like to. Way Silky, thank you very much for that. From I obviously know tennis. Well, obviously you do. If you're tuning in here and saying hi Silky like that, that's clearly that you do know your tennis, and that's great. Ruud was your dark horse, Michael. Well, we're going to have a look at predictions shortly, but before we do, yeah, let me know in the chat if there's anybody I've missed out on that played today that you'd like me to talk about, because now is your moment, or I'm going to have to move on to other stuff. Whether at Tsitsipas, by the way, he managed to get through today, which was something we'll obviously be keeping an eye on. So that's one to keep an eye out. Yeah, definitely. That was great. Yeah, winning against Goffin. Sorry. That was Dan Evans, of course. Tough match for Dan Evans, and he's playing so well. I'm really pleased. Gene, thank you. Yes, Sabalenka, by the way. Sabalenka, wow, yeah. 3 sets. Was looking dodgy, right? She was a breakdown, I believe, in that 3rd set. And I think the Sabalenka story is so much more than just today. Yeah, Isna Cressy as well, but I'll come to that in a second. Yeah, Felix, there's so many. So just quickly, yeah, Dan Evans, great news. Unbelievable form, tough match, well done. Sabalenka, huge concerns about her. Her confidence seems to be all over the show. Managed to pull through, though, 3rd set after being a breakdown. But I'm worried about her. I'm not sure how much longer she can last in this competition. Felix getting bageled in the 2nd set. What on earth is going on there? I saw a tweet that basically said that sometimes he's hitting rockets and other times it looks like he's just hitting balls. Yeah, Isna against the serve and volley bot. How did that go? It was a 5-setter, right? Isna went down in flames. Yeah, 5 sets. Cressy. Well, that was a difficult one to call, to be honest with you. I always felt that Cressy was kind of had the form, obviously getting to the final to play Nadal in Melbourne before. Isna would probably normally have been the favourite, but yeah, touch and go that one, and congratulations to Cressy. Big fan of Dan Evans, Michael Walker. Yeah, great. Okay, I think I've tried to touch on all of those. I hope I didn't get too confusing on that. But now I want to come to what's the next on my agenda for today's report. Yeah, let's talk about predictions, because I think we all think we know a bit about tennis. I'm here more to give you some analysis. I'm here more to give you the ingredients. I'm more here to give you. I'm like the farmer who's on the, who's doing the hard work. I'm choosing the freshest, fruits and vegetables, and I'm cultivating all this. I'm there in amongst the grapes, smelling, and then I'm giving these ingredients, and I'm giving them to you. But I'm also giving them to JG, and I'm giving them to Ben. And then it's up to them to get to that kitchen and do the best that they can. I've given them everything I can. Then I leave it. And that's where Ben comes in with what I think we can only describe as some interesting predictions. JG, run VT.
We fared against Timothy Skatov because he's someone I don't know too much about. But I know you do, Ben. Cue number 1.
That's right, number 1. And I'm going to actually have Timofey Skatov as my number 1 to watch. I think the way that he's qualified has been really impressive. I mean, I watched a tiny little clip of him. I mean, we haven't had much chance to watch much of the qualifiers. I really apologize for that because of the whole Djokovic thing. But he destroyed Hugo Grenier, who I actually think is a really good player, in straight sets, 6-3, 6-2. Then he beat Sweeney, who is obviously an Australian. He beat him in straight sets. And then Elias, from the Portuguese player, beat him in straight sets. But that's not all he's done. He's beaten some other good players in a
Tell me
challenger
more.
back end of last year, Colorini and Renzo Olivo, and also beaten Tabilo, who has qualified for this Australian Open.
Grand Slam. He's on for the Grand
Seems
Slam.
to win in straight sets.
Oh, he's
So-
going to
Are you
win
not
without dropping
worried
a
that he can
set.
beat him sort of people who aren't Grand Slam level? Can you honestly say he's going to get past, say, Norbert Gombos even first round?
Well, he's beaten Andreas Seppi the late in the
What
back
more
end
can
of
you
last
do?
year, and I think he's sort of a Grand Slam tested
Yeah,
player.
Seppi
And I
lost in
don't
straight
think
sets today.
Gombos, you
6-1,
got to
6-1,
bear in mind,
6-1.
he's just played three set
He
matches.
plays against the very best, Ben. He's a different caliber of player. I'm really surprised you've got Skatov
No,
as your
but
number one.
come on. No, but look, he's played. Gombos has played.
Listen,
two
I'm
and-
going to call you out. I find it shocking he's your number one. He
look,
didn't make my. There's a lot of different qualifiers. I didn't consider him at all.
well,
He was near the
ba-
bottom of the list. I know
a
he's had some
lot-
good results, but it's challenger
Well,
tennis.
Well, base it upon this, but how they've qualified for the tournament. You're saying Norbert Gombos, he just spent 3 hours, 40 minutes on the court in his last match, 2.5 hours in his first match, and 2 hours, 20 minutes. Whereas Skatov has spent 1 hour, 44, 1 hour, 24. So and in the last one,
Against
1
weaker
40
opposition. I'm
But
telling
it doesn't
you now,
matter. He's
Norbert
gonna-
Gombos is warmed up.
he's going to
warmed
be
up.
tired.
He's knocking out your
he's
man.
old. He's old. He's tired,
He's
mate.
not old. He's going to knock out your man
31,
first
mate.
round. So let's see how
Timofey,
it goes.
the young 20-year-old, he's going to wipe him off the court. He's going to get your guy out of there, mate.
Fair enough. We've got Mikey Macker and
So let's see how well that prediction aged. Skatov, he's going to wipe him off the court. He wins in straight sets. He beat Seppi, who's Grand Slam level. Seppi, by the way, lost today 6-1, 6-1, 6-1. He's going to pull up trees. He's going to be the man. He's going to be the person we're going to be talking about. He's going to be the Raducanu, I think I heard us all say. He's going to be the Raducanu of this Australian Open. Skatov today lost in 4 sets. Skatov today was described by one viewer as someone who played like he was injured. But he wasn't injured. He just didn't really move around the court so much. He managed to fluke a set, but basically, Ben, back to the drawing board, I think. But I hear what you're saying, audience. Some of you are thinking, maybe we're being a bit harsh on Ben. How about his other predictions? Well, let's have a quick look. Ben's dark horse, Ann Lee. Checks notes. How did Ann Lee do today? Oh, lost in straight sets. Well, can't get them all right, I hear you say. What next? Kuzmova, qualifier to watch. His number one qualifier to watch on the women's side. Australian Open, over. Round 1. What I would like to know is, who is Ben predicting for big things on day 3? And if I was one of those players, I would be particularly concerned that I would be struck by the curse of the Ben predictions. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining. Make sure you get to like and subscribe this video. Keep an eye out for more watch-alongs. We've got some more coming tonight. Guys, in the private chat, if you can let me know who will be on the watch-alongs this evening. I think might be having Sakari as a possibility. Azarenka. Okay, we've got Azarenka tonight. Great. That would be a great match to look out for on the watch-alongs. Keep an eye out for, obviously, try and tune in immediately, because what you want from Ben and JG, and especially Ben, you want that pre-match analysis. You want to hear who Ben is predicting, who Ben thinks will win, how many games, how many sets, how it's going to play out. Get to your bookmakers and do the exact opposite. Like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.